At the edge of a roaring abyss, a man stands in the freezing dark, preparing to throw his most valuable possessions directly into the fire. The wind carries the heavy scent of sulfur. It bites at your skin and leaves a thin layer of fine gray dust on your eyelashes. We are walking in absolute darkness. Beneath our boots, volcanic sand crunches with a rhythm that feels almost hypnotic. We are not alone. All around us, moving quietly through the biting cold of the early morning, are hundreds of silent figures. They are wrapped in thick woven blankets, their faces illuminated only by the occasional flare of a match or the pale glow of the moon. They are walking toward a sound that vibrates in the chest long before you actually see its source. It sounds like a jet engine buried deep underground. It is the breathing of the earth. We are climbing Mount Bromo, an active volcano in East Java, and the people walking beside us are carrying the very best of their harvest to toss into the smoking crater. Why would someone walk into the mouth of danger to surrender the very food they need to survive? Welcome to Culture Journey. We are in the highlands of Indonesia, in a place that feels entirely disconnected from the modern world below. This is the realm of the Tenggerese people. The air up here is thin and constantly cold, a sharp contrast to the tropical heat of the distant cities. There is a profound quiet that settles over these mountain villages, a stillness that is only ever broken by the wind and the distant, ever-present low rumble of the mountain they call sacred. We are going to walk with them today. We are going to witness Yadnya Kasada, an ancient ritual that has survived out empires, colonizations, and the passing of centuries. But more than that, we are going to try to understand what it means to live in the shadow of destruction and choose to respond with gratitude. To truly understand the weight of this night, we first need to understand the reality of the day. The Tenggerese people are farmers. They rely entirely on the earth to feed their families and sustain their communities. Walking through their fields, you immediately notice the terrifying geography of their daily lives. They plant their crops on impossibly steep ridges that plunge downward into deep, shadowy ravines. The soil they dig their hands into is pitch black. It is pure volcanic ash. Every few years, this mountain erupts. It darkens the sky, choking the air and covering the rooftops and roads in a suffocating gray blanket. The mountain has the absolute power to destroy their entire world in a single afternoon. But that exact same ash, once it settles and is washed by the seasonal rains, creates some of the most incredibly fertile soil in all of Asia. The destroyer is also the provider. Fear and devotion exist in the exact same handful of dirt. They do not resent the mountain for its danger. They respect it for its power. And to truly understand the depth of that respect, you have to meet the people who wake up in the freezing dark to honor it. In the village of Ngadisari, long before the sun even thinks of rising, an elder named Sutikno is awake. The village outside is silent, submerged in the freezing fog of the highlands. We find him sitting on the wooden floor of his small home, lit by the warm, flickering light of a single bulb. An elder with a face mapped by a lifetime of sun and wind, he sits quietly in the flickering light with a glass of hot black tea. He is a man who doesn't speak much, and here, in the quiet of the highlands, he doesn't need to. If you watch his hands, you see the story of his life, thick, deeply calloused, and permanently stained with the dark soil of the ridges. Yet right now, those massive hands are moving with incredible gentleness. He is arranging a woven bamboo basket called a satang. Inside, he is placing the fruits of his labor. But he is not just tossing things in. He is deliberate. He carefully selects a vibrant green cabbage, smoothing its crisp leaves with his thumb. He adds bright red tomatoes, perfect ears of yellow corn, and a small bundle of purple onions. Everything is arranged with the quiet precision of an artist creating a masterpiece. He even tucks a few carefully folded banknotes into the side of the woven bamboo. Eventually, he brings out a live chicken, its legs gently secured so it rests calmly on top of the vegetables. This brings us to a quiet realization. When we think of sacrifices in the modern world, we often imagine giving away what we have left over. We give our excess. But watching Sutikno, you realize that this is the absolute best of his harvest. These are the flawless vegetables that would fetch the highest price at the regional market. These are the specific crops that represent his family surviving another harsh year in the highlands. The offering must be perfect. To give to the mountain means giving a piece of your own survival. It requires letting go of what you value most. We step out into the freezing night with Sutikno. The air is sharp enough to make your lungs ache. The village is slowly coming alive. Families are stepping out of their doorways into the narrow alleys, hoisting massive, colorful baskets onto their shoulders. There is no loud talking, no chaotic rushing. There is a deep, reverent focus. You can smell the clove cigarettes burning in the dark, mixing with the scent of damp earth and wood smoke. To reach the crater, we must first cross the Lautan Pasir, the Sea of Sand. It is a vast, moon-like caldera surrounding the active volcano. Walking across it in the pitch black feels like walking across the surface of another planet. The fog rolls heavily across the gray sand, curling around our ankles and dampening our clothes. The silence down here on the caldera floor is immense. The only sounds are the soft thud of hundreds of footsteps in the sand and the occasional ringing of a small brass bell attached to a horse carrying those who cannot make the long, exhausting walk. As the ground finally begins to slope upward toward the crater, the physical reality of the journey sets in. The ash beneath our boots is soft and slippery. Every step forward feels incredibly heavy. Your calves burn. Your breathing becomes shallow in the thin air. Yet Sutikno climbs steadily, his breathing deep and measured. He carries the heavy basket on his back without complaint. He has made this exact walk every single year since he was a small boy holding his grandfather by the hand. While we climb this steep incline, we begin to understand the immense weight of the history being carried up this slope. The story of the Tenggerese people goes back centuries to the violent fall of Majapahit, once the most powerful empire in Southeast Asia. As the kingdom collapsed around them, a princess named Roro Anteng and her husband Joko Seger fled the lowland cities to these high, unforgiving mountains to start a new life. They found peace in the isolation, but they could not have children. In their absolute despair, they climbed this very volcano, stood at the edge of the fire, and prayed to the ancient gods of the mountain. The gods answered. They promised the couple 25 children, but under one strict, devastating condition. The 25th child, their youngest, had to be thrown into the crater as a sacrifice. Years passed. The family grew large and prosperous. But when the time finally came to sacrifice their youngest son, a boy named Kesuma, the parents could not bear to do it. They refused. They hid the boy. The mountain roared in fierce anger, erupting in fire and suffocating ash, threatening to consume everything the family and their community had built. Realizing that his entire village would perish because of him, Kesuma willingly climbed the mountain. He threw himself into the crater to save his family and his people. But before he fell into the fire, the legend says his voice echoed out from the smoking abyss. He asked his people to offer the fruits of their harvest every year on this specific day to maintain peace with the mountain. The people walking beside us are not just throwing vegetables into a fire. They are honoring an ancient promise. They are remembering a boy who saved their ancestors. They are substituting human life with the life of the earth. We finally reach the rim. The sensory shift is completely overwhelming. After hours of silent, meditative walking in the cold dark, the top of the volcano is a scene of raw, chaotic energy. The crater edge is dangerously narrow, barely wide enough for two people to pass each other shoulder to shoulder. A sheer drop falls away on one side, back down into the sea of sand, and on the other side, an incredibly steep drop plunges directly into the smoking, glowing throat of the volcano. The noise is deafening. The earth is quite literally roaring at us. It sounds like 1,000 angry oceans crashing into a canyon. Thick plumes of white and yellow sulfur smoke billow upward from the depths, stinging the eyes and choking the back of the throat. Yet, despite the sheer danger of standing here, hundreds of people are pressed tightly together along the very edge, their faces lit by the warm glow of the crater. Sutikno steps to the rim. The faint glow of the coming dawn is just beginning to paint the sky in deep purples and faint oranges, revealing the immense, terrifying scale of the crater below. He closes his eyes against the stinging smoke. He murmurs a quiet prayer in the ancient Tengger dialect, a sacred echo of Hindu Javanese traditions passed down through generations. his voice entirely drowned out by the thunderous sound of the mountain. He prays for rain to wash the ash. He prays for fertile soil. He prays for the health and safety of his grandchildren. And then, with a graceful, fluid motion that defies his age, he lifts the heavy bamboo basket and heaves it over the edge. We watch the vibrant green cabbages, the bright red tomatoes, and the flapping chicken tumble down the steep, ash-covered interior slopes of the crater, disappearing into the white smoke. But then, as the smoke momentarily clears, we notice something completely unexpected. Down on those incredibly steep, dangerous inner slopes of the crater, balancing precariously just above the roaring vents of toxic sulfur gas, there are people. They are local men and teenage boys holding wide handmade nets and worn-out sarongs. As Sutikno throws his offering, a young man reaches out over the abyss with a net and skillfully catches the cabbage midair. Another scrambles dangerously across the loose, sliding ash to grab the live chicken just before it tumbles into the toxic smoke below. At first glance to an outsider, this might look strange. It might look as though the sacred sacrifice is being intercepted or even stolen. But if you watch closely, and if you understand the heart of this culture, you realize this is an accepted, profoundly beautiful part of the ritual. The mountain is a spiritual entity. It consumes the intention, the quiet prayer, and the deep devotion behind the offering. But the physical food goes back directly to the community. For those standing inside the dangerous crater, catching these offerings isn't merely about gathering calories for the harsh winter. It is about catching berka, the sacred blessings of the mountain. The ritual becomes a profound, beautifully human exchange. The gods take the spirit, and the people receive the blessing. Nothing is ever wasted. The gods take the spirit, and the community takes the sustenance. Nothing is ever wasted. Standing here on the narrow edge of the world, watching vegetables tumble through toxic smoke, only to be caught by those who need them most, it becomes difficult not to think about our own lives. We spend so much of our limited time on Earth trying to accumulate things. We gather wealth, we build physical and emotional walls, we hold on to our possessions so tightly because we fundamentally believe those things will keep us safe from the unpredictable, chaotic nature of the world. But here, on the edge of a roaring volcano, safety is found in the exact opposite action. Safety is found in letting go. Safety is found in standing before a massive force of nature that could destroy you in an instant and offering it a beautiful gift. Could you imagine living this way? Could you imagine accepting that everything you have is simply on loan from the earth and that periodically you must willingly give the absolute best of it back just to say thank you? The sun finally breaks fully over the horizon. The bright morning light spills across the Lautan Pasir below, turning the gray ash into a brilliant, glowing gold. The heavy tension of the dark night completely dissolves. The roaring of the crater does not stop, but in the warmth of the daylight, it no longer feels terrifying. It feels like a natural harmony. It feels like the heartbeat of the world. Sutikno steps back from the narrow edge. His bamboo basket is completely empty. His rough hands are dusted with pale ash. But when you look at his weathered face, there is a profound sense of lightness and relief. There is no sorrow for the lost crops or the money given away. There is only peace. He has spoken to the earth, and he deeply trusts that the earth has listened. The contract for the year is sealed. He turns away from the stinging smoke, wraps his thick woven blanket tighter around his shoulders against the morning wind, and begins the long, slow walk back down the mountain toward his home. We follow him down. The journey back across the sand feels entirely different. The mountain air is warming up. The massive, beautiful scale of the landscape finally reveals itself in the clear daylight. We can see the steep, dramatic ravines carved by ancient lava flows. We see the distant, vibrant green hills where the small farming villages cling stubbornly to the slopes. The quiet fear of the dark night is gone, replaced by a deep, lasting awe for the resilience of the human beings who call this harsh environment home. They do not try to conquer the mountain. They do not try to pave over it or tame it. They simply exist in a relationship with it. They understand a truth that many of us have forgotten in the modern world. They understand that to live fully is to accept vulnerability. This is what travel is truly about. It is not just about flying across the world to see magnificent landscapes or take photographs of the unusual. It is about witnessing how different people across the earth navigate the beautifully complicated, fragile experience of being alive. It is about watching an old man give his best harvest to a roaring fire and realizing that perhaps we all need to find our own ways to let go of the things we hold too tightly. Thank you for walking with us today. If this journey up the mountain brought you a moment of quiet reflection or made you curious about the many different ways people live and find meaning in this vast world, we invite you to subscribe and share this experience with someone else who loves a good story. Let us know in the comments below what you would find hardest to let go of in your own life. We will be taking another journey together soon, slowly exploring the hidden memories and untold stories of the world, and we would love for you to come along. Until then, travel deeply, observe quietly, and take care of each other.